Good morning, friends. Welcome to Shooting the Shelf here on the Just Shelve It YouTube channel. Jesse, and with me is the wonderful Curtis. How's it going tonight, Curtis?
It's going excellent. Good morning, Jesse.
Thank you. Because, it's morning somewhere. If not, you can reset the last couple hours of your day thinking it's morning.
Yep.
And breakfast is the best meal of the day. I'm not saying it's the most important, but it's the best meal of the day.
I can get behind that.
Okay. Well, tonight we have...
We got a lot of people in chat already. I don't know if you've been watching,
chat,
but man, it is popping.
Chat is hopping. Danny's going full Captain Phillips over here. Apparently he's the admin now.
Beautiful.
Apparently I can change time and space.
Oh, all right.
Yeah. Lots of folks out there.
Yeah, a couple shout outs. We got Steve Callahan, Dave Orkin, Michael Casper, Just Shelve It, which is Jesse, because that wasn't me. JMax77, Danny's out there. Star. Let's see, Eduardo, Stephanie Orkin, Nate Strong, Austin Morrison, Dave Bennett, Thanos Copter, man. We got a full house.
It is hopping out there. JG just jumped in. And speaking
we've got a really exciting guest. That's probably why.
Yes, we do. Yeah. And speaking of the letters J and G, today they are bringing us our guest, Joe Gonsalves. Welcome to the show.
Hey, everybody.
That transition was brought to you by Jesse. I got to give it up on that transition. The JG, pretty spectacular.
Seamless transition.
It's my always on the lookout for puns brain.
There you go.
Indeedy. Stefan's jumping in too.
Yeah, welcome, Joe. How you doing?
Wow. Hey, everybody. Good to see so many people in chat.
Yeah.
Yep.
And you're not out there, so it's you're usually one of our regular commenters out there.
Can I tell you a secret? I have it going on another device because I thought there would only be one or two, so I just
try to boost the numbers up.
Just bump the numbers.
How many of these?
Gotta get them numbers up.
He called all his family members to have them log on. You don't even have to watch it; just log on so it looks like the numbers higher.
So that's embarrassing because I did that. My son lives in Virginia, and I was like, "Dude, watch it!" Like, get those numbers.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Sounds good. All right, ready for shelf selections, Jesse?
Shelf selections. Let's bring it on, and let's bump Joe up to the top. So,
all right, number one is by me. This is an Instagram that I just found out about. This is Can of Beams, not Can of Beans, Can of Beams. And they do like special effects for action figures. So they have like all these crazy things. Like they've got like blood things that you can put on people. They've got like the little, like if you remember like the old comic books where they had like the POW zap, like they got stuff like that. Just recently I posted a picture of my X-Men with the Jubilee. She's got like the sparkles from her hand. That's where this came from. And so this effect here is a new one that they've got out for Banshee, and I just think it's pretty awesome. Where it just takes that figure that was, already cool looking figure and just makes it just that much better. So if you're in the need for some special effects for your action figures, check it out because they've got some really cool stuff.
I totally agree. Yeah, I've seen them for a while now, and I just assume everybody knows everything because I'm so late to like the toy community as far as like engaging in online stuff. But that definitely amps up this Banshee. Like he's a cool figure, and all he does, he screams and flies, which is cool. But like seeing that effect around him really takes that.
Most
to the
people
next
just
level.
scream,
Awesome.
so
there you go.
The flying part really makes it special.
Yeah, I just ordered an effect for Magneto too that kind of looks like it's clear, but it looks like it's kind of a magnetism effect on his hand. They've got I picked up a couple for Iceman So yeah, check it out. He's got some really cool stuff. So
very cool.
Next one is from Jesse.
Yes, this is from Joseph Sheriff in the Mythic Legions Cabal. I know he's got an Instagram because I saw this on both, but I grabbed this on Facebook. Um, I love it. The blurry background, the racing horse, the barbarian, like the axe, like swinging back. I don't know. Everything about this, I just thought was a lot of fun, and that's how I grab my pictures for the shelf selections. Is just like if I'm scrolling through my phone, what like grabs my attention, and this one definitely grabbed my attention when I saw it.
Now on here it says my favorite pair. Is that talking about the person and the horse, or is that talking about some other pair on here somewhere?
I am going to read that as the horse and the rider.
Okay, because initially I was taking it as something else, which okay.
I mean, I could be mistaken. That looks like the half orc barbarian, which I know they had at the horseman table yesterday. So I don't know if this was a pickup yesterday and it was an excitement to have it, or I'm not sure. But yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I love the shot. Just kind of the in motion. It looks cool. It's some, the horses. Here's what I'll say. I'm not a huge Mythic Legion horse guy. They are fabulous looking. Okay, they're the best horses in the industry when it comes to an action figure horse. But I have a hard time getting them into a good pose. This looks fabulous. So, yeah, I think I'm just not a good poser. I'm not good enough to own horses. So there you go. But yeah, this looks awesome. All right. Next one is me again. And this is a miniature painter. And I wanted to, let me make sure I get the name right here. If I can pull up my files.
Miniaturista?
Shelf selections. This is, a miniaturista. ELMINIATURISTA. And I picked out these two shots because the one is at a fire effect, the other one is a lightning effect. And they typically have like a couple different shots, so they show how they did it. And I just thought that this looked really cool, and I think it's some painting techniques that could easily translate over to customizing Mythic Legions. So I figured I'd throw that out there. I just thought it was pretty cool how they got that effect, especially in such a small character. It's
oh yeah.
I think it's creating these types of effects on a smaller canvas is got to be even tougher than what we do. But yeah, this is awesome.
Takes a lot less paint,
yeah.
But yes, very, very cool.
I love the lightning effects. I wonder if he used like maybe wires or something.
Yeah, it was like he used like copper wiring, I think, and then he had some special like I think it might have been like a white ink that he used instead of a paint. But yeah, check out his Instagram. Like I said, they've got kind of some step by steps on how they did some of these, and I just thought that was really cool.
Very cool. I thought maybe the electric effect was. Have you seen those like 3D pens that like you can draw like the gel lines or whatever? I thought it might have been one of those.
No, they actually showed like cutting, like I think it was copper wire, but they showed him like cutting wire and then bending it into place, and
that's gotta be
that's really cool.
So tiny.
Yeah. Next one is Jesse again.
All right, Rubber Howler Monkey 10 over on the old Instagram. Indy and Peggy Carter just rocking that World War II officer uniform, and I don't know. I just thought I like the little temple diorama, whatever that is, set up, and the nature shots in the background. Just a fun mix up of realities.
This did not surprise me at all to see as your selection. The Indy 2 weeks in a row, not shocking. And then the fact that there's a Peggy Carter in there, that's like, that's total Jesse. Like there's no way that this could not be your shelf selection for the week. So
what indie did I have last week?
you had the one where he was the Michael Jackson. Wasn't that last week or was that the week before?
No, that was a couple weeks ago.
Oh, okay. But anyway, you throw an indie and a Peggy Carter in there, Jesse's going to put you on the show. Just for
the
anybody.
Only thing that would have
right
made me love this picture more is if Rogue and or a Fuzzmonk were in it.
There you go. But no, it is a great shot. I like the diorama piece. The mixing of they're both like kind of time, like they're stuck in that kind of same time period. So it makes sense to throw these characters together. So yeah, that's pretty cool. All right.
I love whatever the idol is, like Cthulhu looking.
Yeah.
Nightmare fuel.
Next one for me. This is Tamzila Toys. And I just thought this was a beautiful shot. I'm pretty sure that's a Max Bird cloak there for Morgulith. And just the whole scene that's set up where you got a couple skeleton guards on the side and kind of in this like throne room type setting. I just thought that was a really cool shot.
That is very cool. I like the dragon heads in the background.
Yeah.
She's rocking that disco collar.
Yes, absolutely. Next is Jesse.
So, I mean, again, another character. I always loved the Blue Spaceman as a kid. So when they did Benny in the Lego movie and they gave him that super excitable face, I just loved it. So seeing Nate's picture pop up with the one blue one there in the background, just absolutely loved it.
Yeah, I had to, as soon as I saw this, I had to reach out to Nate because I just thought this was amazing. It's not like, I think he even said it like didn't take a whole long time to do. It's not a huge setup for this or anything, but just the way that like the rest are blurred out, you don't see their faces. And then the blue one is in the middle, kind of all smiling and, looking all chipper. It just really is an amazing shot. So yeah, Nate killed this one.
And they're not on pegs. They're not on the Lego pegs. They're on a flat surface. So getting them to stand up, that took skill.
Yeah. And I on his Instagram, it actually shows like a backup shot too, where you can see the setup, which is I really love that when photographers kind of give you the behind the scenes thing on there. So if you haven't checked out his Instagram, go to Corona 4 and check that out because it's just a cool setup.
All good stuff all the time for sure.
Yeah. Yep. And then this is my last one, and this is Warrior Evans. And this is the new Mafex Steel that just came out. He's fighting Superman there and just coming down with that hammer. You see that little.
So I'm sorry. Did you say Superman and Mafex? What?
Yeah. What?
Okay.
Did I not say that right?
No, I'm just saying. I think you say that every week.
Oh, gotcha. Well, I might. I don't know. I think this is the first time I've shown this steel, but it's pretty cool. And it's got one of those effects here, like I was talking about, where the hammer's coming down and it's got that pow effect, and then you see kind of smoke in the background. And then once again, it's got one of these shots like I was just talking about with Nate, where it backs up and you can see the setup that the photographer did. And so I just thought that was a really cool shot. So
that is really cool. And I'm just giving you a hard
amazing shot. I hope that the next one is of Superman absolutely destroying Steel because, well, I think we all know what would happen.
Listen, I'm not going to apologize for my love of Mafex right now because over the last couple months, I've been hooked. So it's deep in my veins. So, and then the last one from Jesse.
Again, this one just really jumped out at me. The whole trees going off into I just love that it's all like really vertical trees. There's not like low branches. That really caught my attention. And of course, the Xylernian Guard is one of my favorite figures from the All-Stars 5 wave. And I just think all the arrows in the ground and sticking out of his back is just such a cool, you have to look at it. Like you can't take it all in one look over. There's so much to see. And of course the builders are just great. Yeah, absolutely. On purpose, I said that. Love this shot.
Yeah, the Xylurnian guard's not having a good day.
No.
But he's having a rough one today. Um, but I hadn't seen it. A lot of times we'll see like we'll shoot each other's self selections, and like the Nate one I saw earlier in the week, and I was like, oh yeah, that's cool. I had not seen this, and when you sent this over, I was like, man, this is just awesome. Like this shot is so cool. It doesn't hurt the fact that I love orcs, and the fact that they're shooting up an elf is pretty cool. But you're right, like the arrows in his back, and then all around him, and then the scenery. You can. I'm guessing that was a like an LCD thing behind it, possibly, or a backdrop behind it. But then you see that there's also a couple trees towards the front. So I just think the whole setup looks great. It really tells a story, which is something when you look at like the photography, we always talk about like, does this tell a story? And this totally does. So.
Yeah, I love it. And just all the orcs, just they've got different armor. Clearly the ones in the, like, you feel the story. And hey, 3 of 12 that we can see, there might be more in his back, and
they're wearing a lot of armor too. So,
listen,
if
they were
I'm imagining he's running serpentine. He's not one of those Stark boys just running a straight line. Like he was dodging and weaving.
Well, and if they were stormtroopers, it'd be 0 out of 12. So,
he's clearly not the main character.
Nate says that the trees are practical. So, okay. So I guess that's not a background. So yeah, that's a lot of trees then there. So cool. So that's it. That's it for shelf selections.
Very cool.
Yeah. Some good stuff.
Absolutely.
Swap plays with you too.
All right.
Yes, you did.
I was on shelf selections a few times too. I had a pretty good streak going, and then
well, you had a string there where it was like every week you were putting out either a God's Fire character or a Mud Thump, and every one of them was better than the one before. I was like, holy cow!
Thank you.
So
now what you need to do to get Curtis to pick you again is do some sort of Superman DC Mafex figure, and
there you go. Do a Superman Templar orc.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, it's possible.
Yeah. There you go.
All right.
Yeah. We all have our things that catch our eye. So.
Right.
Hey, Dave Williams joining the chat.
Dave. How's it going?
Curtis taking it out.
Everybody, I'm so
sorry.
Not surprised, but happy to see so many people turn out to check out the show tonight. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So you're an interesting fella.
And
fella, did I just time travel back to 1950 or 40?
Probably that Indiana Jones and Peggy Carter.
That's how I talk, buddy. So listen here, pal.
Okay. Hey, Chris Durant is in for the first time. What's up, Chris? Good to see you.
Nice.
Right on.
So, Joe, we were just kind of talking about like some of the customs that you've been doing. Like, tell us how you got into that kind of stuff. How you started? Did it start with Mythic Legions? Have you been customizing other lines before that, or what brought that on?
So, there was only one custom before Mythic Legions because I collected Jack's specific WWE and wrestling figures, and of course, Jack's never got the license for Macho Man Randy Savage, who was one of my favorite wrestlers. So I thought, wow, I'll just make my own, and so I did. I bought testers, paints, and this is kind of back before internet and YouTube was really a thing. And I made it, and I was like, look how cool this is. And I showed a bunch of people, my friends and family, and they were like, that doesn't look anything like him. That's awful. So
they're very supportive. Okay.
They didn't use those exact words, but it was basically that, so everything went in the back room in the closet, and then, so So this is kind of a long story. I hope you guys don't mind.
Hey, we got a couple hours,
no.
so feel free.
Right, because this kind of, yeah, it gets in the weeds a little bit, but it has a happy ending. It does. But,
Go, yeah, tell your story.
So I live in a small town in Nevada. There was a comic book shop that I went to on a regular basis that sold role-playing books and movies. It was actually originally a video rental store, and then it turned into all things hobbies. And I would go there, and I got the periodical Toy Fair magazine. And the Horsemen were at the time doing the Seventh Kingdom figures. And the owner of the shop actually got a few of the Seventh Kingdom figures in. So I got some of the Seventh Kingdom figures. Well, years later, I ended up getting divorced, and I wasn't handling it very well over a period of time. So I was looking for something to kind of distract me, get me out of my own head, kind of a thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started getting on eBay and getting the Seventh Kingdom figures that I missed. And then I found Gothotropolis on there. So I started collecting the Gothotropolis figures. And through that, all of a sudden, here's this other Four Horsemen line, called Mythic Legions. And I'm a big D&D player. I've been playing for a very long time. So medieval action figures, I was like, and they were good, which is not really a common thing. So I just started getting those, and I did it in kind of, I'm only going to spend so much for certain figures and things like that. And and that's what got me into the line. Are you guys still there?
Yep. We kind of lost you for just a second, but you're back.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that. We're having a pretty bad thunderstorm here. Of course, it figures.
Okay. Well, if we lose you, we'll still be here.
Okay.
Just, if you disappear, we'll stall until you come back.
Okay. Yeah, I apologize, guys. Actually, my very large dog has wedged itself under the computer desk because of the thunderstorm.
Okay.
So basically, you were in with Mythic Legion as of wave 1, like the first wave. You were already starting to buy them.
Right, not through the Kickstarter, but because at the time I didn't really trust the internet. So
Gotcha.
When it said that there was a possibility that you wouldn't get the things that you paid for, so I just collected them all on eBay.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, but yeah, I got in really early, and it was eBay, and at the time the prices weren't crazy like they are now, so I was actually getting big lots of figures. That's how I ended up with a lot of doubles of the older figures was because of that. And then
Star, that's what we all say. We're only going to spend so much. I was going
to get one.
Yeah, I'm only going to collect these types of characters, but I'm not going to collect those types of characters. Yeah, that never lasts.
Well, before 2 years ago, I had never spent over $100 for a figure. That's collecting the entire line. Yeah, so it worked out fairly well for me. Of course, for that, I made up for that in volume, of course, buying lots and lots of figures. But then I was looking on YouTube for people that were into Mythic Legions, because once I had everything and started getting in on the Kickstarters, the gaps in between, was nothing to collect. And I found the Adam Power channel, which is Israel Ramirez.
Right.
And at the time, he was pretty much, Pixel Dan did a little bit, but his was pretty much the only guy doing reviews on Mythic Legions. And then he mentioned Jeremy Gerard's show. So I jumped over there, and he was doing customs. When I checked out his show, and I was like, wow, what a great idea. It's almost like I can make my own waves to fill in the gaps between, while I'm waiting for new figures to come out. And that's what got me into it. unfortunately, I'm not artistic naturally. So the first customs that I did were just god awful, not good at all. So I just yeah, there's my son on there. I was giving him extras at one point. He has a Ramathor. Yeah, a Ramathor elephant from Seventh Kingdom because I had two here. Take this.
It's
So
a nice extra.
right, and so I started practicing. I got online and I found a person that was selling a box of misprints for 3D printed parts. Not Legions, but they were like Marvel Legends. Mm-hmm. They were it was just a huge box of misprints. And I just started watching YouTube videos and practicing. And just slowly over time, through a lot of practice and figuring out what worked for me. Is there are limitations to my abilities, but sometimes I can cheat, So okay. I found out what I could do, and it just kind of went from there. And yeah, so I just started doing them for me, basically to keep me doing something Legions involved in between lines, and then it turned into a full-blown hobby for me. I absolutely love customizing now.
That's awesome. Yeah, I like I said earlier, I know I went through kind of a spell here on shelf selections where almost every week I was putting something of yours on there because you were just like firing them one after another with that God's Fire stuff, and I love those parts so much. I mean, obviously I work with Wolf King Custom, so I'm not impartial here, but the thing that I love about those is that there's stories behind those parts and stuff. So then to see people interpret that story and paint it different ways, like your mud thumps look different from Steven's, that look different from Emil's, that look different from mine, but they're all working off the same story. So I just think that that's really cool because it's kind of like when you read a book and, in your head, when you read a book, you may envision that differently than somebody else that reads that same book. And it's just kind of that imagination piece that goes with it. And I think that's, pretty awesome. That's nothing to say, against any other parts, sold from Wolf King or from any other companies that don't have stories with them. But I just think that's a cool aspect of the customizing part of it.
I agree 100%. When you have something to go off of, like I might have done individual goblins, but maybe not a team or a group or a family of goblins if it wasn't for that storyline. And I'm sure Steven knows already how talented he is, but it was a good story.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I read it. So
we don't need his head getting any bigger.
Right. Well, I'm sure he's not here. He's too famous to.
That's true. Yeah, he's too good for that show.
But I immediately started thinking if I was going to put them in a role-playing game, a Dungeons and Dragons game that I was running, what I would want to do, and then that's what started that thought process. And then for each character, I wanted something a little different. Mama Mud Thump actually was kind of based off of some real life older ladies that were a part of my family.
Nice.
They were
drawing on your own background, and
they were really I don't know how to say they're really old in a tactful way, but they had entered their twilight years.
Yeah.
But when it was on Sunday, time to get dressed up for church, boom, out came the makeup and the jewelry and the wigs and things like that. And for some reason, when I looked at Mama Mud Thump, that's what I saw, So.
Yeah. Yeah, I know my Mama Mud Thump came out kind of looking like like she's going out to the bar to pick up a guy, and
Mhm.
that was based on my ex mother-in-law. So that was like totally her.
Right.
Like from the cigarette to the pearl necklace to like the short skirt, like it was like, okay, I got all these kids at home. I need to find some guy to come and help me out here. And so that's what I base that off of. So that's cool, seeing that we kind of did the same thing.
Right.
She
That's
the Mama Mud Thump always reminds me of like a lunch lady with the confidence of Mona from She's the Boss.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can see that.
So
So
I see Star asking if after seeing my work, has my son developed an interest in custom? Yeah. So I have 3 kids, and none of them are interested in toys at all. Um, they humor me a lot. Wow, Dad, that's really cool. Can I borrow the car? So yeah, they're very much a video game generation. I think they've kind of moved away from toys, so which is fine. I don't force them to do my hobbies for the most part. I made my middle boy go to the Mythic meetup in California with me, but yeah. So my kids, no, they don't have any interest in that I'm aware of.
gotcha.
Okay.
So you had talked about like kind of putting those together like a D&D party. Is that something that you have a lot of experience with D&D, or is it?
So I've been role playing for about 31 years.
Ooh.
I started role playing when I was 15, and you know what it's like to be a teenager and kind of not in love with yourself and not sure where you fit in and things like that. And some of my friends had met some. One of them was a family member, and the other guy was a friend of that family member. Like, hey, we're playing Dungeons and Dragons, and I was like that cartoon from the 80s, And they're like, well, it's not like that, but yeah. And so I was like, don't they worship the devil? That's all I heard about in the 80s, about stuff like that. They're like, no. I mean, you can if you want, but it's not a requirement. So I went over and I tried it out, and I immediately fell in love with it, because it's your imagination. I've been into comic books for way longer than that. I have a story about that too, if you guys want me to tell that later on. But
Yeah.
I've always loved heroes, and in real life, you don't always get to be a hero. I mean, there's things that you can feel heroic about. I mean, I've had the same job for 25 years, or not the same job, but I've worked for the same company doing multiple jobs there. I've supported my family. I'm a hero. I feel good about those things. I never want to put down that kind of stuff, but I can't be a paladin in real life, but I can in D&D. And sometimes it feels good to step into the shoes of somebody that would do things that you don't get to do in real life. And so yes, I love Dungeons and Dragons. I've been playing for 31 years. All my kids have played Dungeons and Dragons with me, so that definitely drove my interest in Mythic Legions when I saw those figures. It's just like, oh my God, like not just medieval action figures, because we all remember like the Robin Hood action figures that were not bad, but they're not Mythic Legions. It's what you want, So that 100% drove me into first collecting Seventh Kingdom and then eventually Mythic Legions.
Okay. So with D&D, have you made characters from games you've played out of Mythic Legions? Have you realized any of your characters or parties?
I have not. Not exactly. So when there was a point in time where I really wanted to play a Mythic Legions game, like a game in Mythos, and there wasn't a ton of lore besides the bios at the time, but I have my figures on display, so I had my friends come and look at all the figures and, you know, pick a figure that they liked, and we built characters based off of the figures, which was kind of cool. And then I ran a campaign that took place in Mythos. And what was neat about that was, because the lore of Mythos is a little different, you get some characters that maybe you wouldn't in normal D&D. Like a friend of mine played a Minotaur wizard, you know, of the Convocation of Basilia. And you know, a Minotaur wizard isn't a common, you know,
Sure.
role-playing trope, you know, because they're bruisers, you know. But in Mythos, he's like, what's this black bull with a wizard staff, you know? And I'm like, oh, well, let me tell you, you know. And then he loved the idea. And later on in the campaign, there was an instance where everyone had gone down except for him and one other person. And it was an elf archer, and he's just about to get taken down by a skeleton, and the wizard drops his head and does like a bull charge and destroys the skeleton, you know, and saves the day.
That's awesome.
And I thought that was one of those things that was just neat, like you know, that you would only see because of the inspiration from Mythic Legion.
That's really cool.
That is an awesome story, but it makes me wonder, Jesse, why have you not put together a Mythos D&D for us yet?
I want to, trust me. I still have the list of names of everybody when Pete was on and we were talking about possibly doing one. I want to do it so bad, but if I do it, it means I got to take something else off the table that I do, and I'm just not willing to give up customizing or working on my book and that sort of stuff at the moment. So
I have to explain to Curtis, just because you don't role play, right, Curtis?
No, I've never done it. I think it would be awesome too, but I never have.
It is super fun, and I recommend it. But real life role playing and internet role playing are different, at least to my experience. Like, what's the popular show? I'm drawing a blank right now.
Critical Role.
Critical Role. So real life role playing isn't like that. They don't even really use dice. When you're playing real role playing games, even in a heroic moment, the dice decide. I remember one time a rope bridge, and orcs are on the other side shooting arrows at us, and it's dark and none of us can see them to fight back. So I grabbed the torch, and I'm going to run out onto the rope bridge and throw the torch over there so that we can see them, you know, and save the day. And I failed a check and fell down the chasm with the torch, and my character died.
Ooh.
And though it was hilarious and we all laughed a lot, maybe not great television. So I don't, not that I'd ever be against, you know, playing an online campaign, but I always wonder, because most of the online campaigns that I watch, you can see them kind of fudging things to keep it moving. And I don't know, you know, how easy or hard that is to do.
I'll say this on Critical Role. I don't know how much of it you've gotten to watch, but they definitely have consequences to their dice rolls. Like, one of the characters jumps off a cliff, and she's falling, and she decides to turn into a goldfish because she's going to land in the river, and she didn't arc out far enough, and she died. Like, full death. They had to do resurrection on her and almost did not bring her back.
All right.
Because she made
the
because she rolled,
hit the side of the mountain and squished it.
Yeah. Because the goldfish had like one hit point, so it was expensed, but it was like 1,000-foot drop. So it took all of her, and she was fairly high level at the time, not like top tier, but yeah, it was. And it was just, it wasn't for any reason. She just did the whole "I'm a golden god" from, you know. What was that movie?
You know what we could do, Jesse? We could do where like one of these shows a month that we did it as like a D&D campaign and just used one show, and it would, you know, it wouldn't be super often. It would only be once a month. But we could do that. Or
we'll talk about that for next year.
So
let's talk about that for 2024.
All right.
I got a lot of work to do for Legions Con, and I'm trying to get my book finished. So trust me, I want to do it because I've got some mods.
I get what
I
you're
wanna,
saying. Like, there's not extra time, but we could probably reallocate some time that we've got somewhere. But yeah,
because
okay.
I wanted I want to create a play dead feature for a Fuzzmonk class or race where it's basically like it's like a mix between maybe like a halfling and a dwarf race,
Mhm.
and one of their natural racial abilities is play dead, like a possum, where they can just play dead. Someone will think they're dead, and then they can do like a surprise attack mid battle or something.
That's cool.
I haven't worked out all the details on it yet, but that's just the one little thing I want to do. Pun intended.
Nice.
Oh, it's a great idea. Feigned death. I think I've played so many editions, it's hard to remember, but either in second edition or in Pathfinder, I'm pretty sure there's a feigned death abilities that you could maybe get some ideas from that from.
That's why I said I want to put the time into it and tweak a little things with some mythos stuff. Because I think, me as a DM, I'm very much, I don't plan a lot. I kind of have a story in my head and then what they decide. And I just kind of make it up as I go and try to adhere to the rules. But anyway, this isn't about me. But I'd want to make sure I get the world building part of it right. So
for sure. All right.
And
it's your show, Jesse.
Yeah. Well, I mean, while we're on the subject, though, I mean, Joe was just talking about kind of his background with D&D and how that made Mythic Legions attractive to him. I mean, do you have a similar kind of thing, Jesse? I mean, I didn't have a D&D background, but when you first started seeing Mythic Legions, did it hit a certain note with you based on your D&D background?
Well, my D&D background only goes back a little over 8 years. Like I only just finished my first campaign at the beginning of this year. So like I was playing a halfling rogue most of it. So I'm just now starting to experiment with 2 new characters over the last couple months. So for me, the fantasy element goes to like Lord of the Rings and Chronicles of Narnia and stuff like that's where my fantasy element came from as a child. And Beastmaster, somehow I got to see that, but I wasn't allowed to watch the D&D cartoon. So once I got into D&D, so I was well into D&D for a couple years by the time I started getting Legions, and that's one of the things I really liked about Thistlethorn is I was like, he's so unique. He's like an alternate race of goblin. I thought that was really cool, and he had green on him. So, but since getting into it, like I'm working on a custom of my halfling rogue. I started working on customs of my 2 characters I'm currently playing. So, it's definitely crossing over between the 2 for sure.
Awesome.
Nice. Cool. So what about, before this stuff? I know you said, kind of after your divorce, you got into, some, like the Seventh Kingdom stuff and things like that. But what about when you were a kid? Like what things were you into back then?
I think all of the mainstream popular stuff, I don't remember a ton about my childhood, but like one of my earliest memories is like a display in a Sears of Castle Grayskull. And, I was really young, so it was just giant, and I was like, I want those, like all of them.
Yeah.
And I didn't get all of them, but I did get Castle Grayskull and a few figures for Christmas that year, and I was hooked. He-Man was definitely one of my favorites. I had some Transformers, but even though I really liked the cartoon and ended up collecting the comic book later on, they were a little expensive, for just the here and there. Like I could get them for birthdays and Christmas, but that was pretty much it. So I didn't have a huge collection. I had a lot of G.I. Joes because those were great. In the small town, we had a little, I don't even know what you would call it. Like it wasn't really a dollar store, but it was kind of like, it just had a little bit of everything. Yeah, it like a Dollar Tree or something like that. I don't know if you guys have the same stores that we have, but it was like a Dollar Tree. There was just a little bit of everything, and they had G.I. Joe figures. Like I got Snake Eyes from the original line, you know, in the store, because I just walked in. I was like, that's like a ninja, you know. Of course, I want a ninja.
Yeah, who doesn't want a ninja?
Right. So, yeah, that was actually one of the first toys that I actually got when I was a kid. Was I got Snake Eyes and Stalker, you know, and was like,
Okay.
these are pretty awesome, you know. So, and then I was big into professional wrestling, so I had like the old wrestling figures, you know, like the solid rubber ones.
Oh yeah.
Like kill people
The
with.
LGN, the dog
Yeah,
toys.
the LJN ones. Yeah, I had some of those. Yeah, my son's just collected wrestling action figures. I really did. I've until the recent era of wrestling, I really enjoyed professional wrestling quite a bit.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, those old Hasbro ones were really cool with all the different action features.
I had a lot of those too. I had a lot of
the thumb wrestlers. You remember those?
I actually had the Hulk Hogan versus Roddy Piper thumb wrestlers. Yeah.
Yeah, those were cool.
I didn't have many friends though, so it was a few years before I got to try those out. But
nice.
Just to explain, I live on a farm, like out of town, so you know, there wasn't really other little kids to play with until I got old enough to like walk into town myself, you know, to play with my friends.
Gotcha.
So I didn't. It wasn't that I didn't have friends. It just they weren't convenient to like come to my house. So
Gotcha.
Sure.
That makes sense.
I'm sure whatever other pop was I had some Thundercats. Gosh, I'm just trying to think. Like, I don't remember some of the more obscure lines ever having any of that, but all the things that were really popular in the 80s, you know, I usually had at least a few of those.
So
Well,
did you ever get into the Ninja Turtles, or were they?
Yes, I
kinda
did.
aged up by then?
I actually had a lot of Ninja Turtles, but I was a little bit older then. Ninja Turtles and Star Trek: The Next Generation figures. I was collecting both of those around the same time. I really like Star Trek: The Next Generation, so I was really getting into those, and I collected a lot of those. But I remember being older around the time that those came out. But yes, so I've always loved toys, and
Awesome.
always
That's why you're on this show, because you're a toy
because
guy.
I love
Like that's
toys.
what it's all
Right.
about. Yeah.
We like toys too.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know if we've made that clear, but
You
yeah,
guys
If you
might
weren't
like
sure.
So I now I've got to see tours of your guys' collections. You might like toys a little bit more than me.
Gotcha.
I will say I have no family or anyone to take care of, so
and I'm just irresponsible. So
I'm kind of both of those things. My youngest son is 14. Two of them are over 18. They're kind of on their own now, you know, sink or swim. So, yeah, and I'm irresponsible also. I got both of those going.
I may or may not be that as well.
Nate is asking, with your gaming background, are you looking forward to Tactics video game?
I am, and I'm also a video game player. I like video games, and I don't have a ton of time to play video games, but I sure wish that I did. But I do. I am a video game player, and I'm looking forward to playing Tactics. And I like Tactics style games. So, you know, one of the recent games that came out was called Solasta and Crown of the Magister, and it's a D&D 5e game. It's using the open gaming license, but so it just uses the rules, but not any of the established lore. They do their own lore. But that game is fantastic, and it's a small French company that's doing it, but I absolutely love it because the combat is so tactical. You know, you're really using spells, you know, to push, you know, enemies around the field to set them up for other characters, and I really do like that kind of stuff. So I've got high hopes for Mythic Legions tactics being. I mean, I'm gonna love anything Legions just because it's Legions, but I also hope it's a good game.
Yeah, that would be good.
Very cool.
I think at this point, like I definitely want to try out the customizing portion of it. The only thing that worries me about that is that, like, from the time that they started on the video game until now, we've had so much new tooling and new parts that I'm just worried that by the time the game comes out, it's going to be dated in terms of the armor options and things like that, unless they're keeping up with it every single time a new wave comes out and they're adding more stuff to it. I'm just kind of worried that there's going to be a lot of stuff missing.
Yeah, I would guess that they are. I mean, they probably get advanced notice on, I mean, just how it works, you know, with other video games with licensed properties like Star Wars and stuff like that. They, you know, they'll get advanced copies of things that are going to be in a movie or a show that haven't come out yet. So,
yeah, I just know they had so much work.
Rip Razor Crest.
Yeah, they had so much to do that I just don't know how much they're actually keeping up with all of those new parts. But we'll see.
I don't know. No, this is their first game as a studio. You know, so I'm basing that off of maybe some more established stuff. We'll see, but I have high hopes. I really want everything about the game to be great.
Yeah, that'd be great.
I'm looking forward to it as well.
Are you going to Legions Con this year?
Unfortunately, no. I have obligations that prevent me from doing that. I wish that I was. I had never been to a con or any type of gathering like that before. And I went to the Mythic meetup, and even though it was small, you know, it was about a 4 or 5 hour drive from where I live to go there. And yeah, I was nervous. Definitely, you know, first time being, it's different talking to people on the internet. You know what I mean? You have time to think about what you say and things like that. And
some people do.
Right. And I went there and just everybody was so friendly and awesome. And I had such a great time talking to people there that I want to experience Legion Con. I imagine it's just that on a much, much larger scale. It's just, unfortunately, this year isn't my year for that. But one of these days, I'll make it.
Well, it sounds like you got a smaller portion of it because, yeah, that's the same thing at Legions Con. It's like you get all these people together, and it's amazing how nice everybody is. Like there's nobody that's just like, I mean, there's some folks that have been in this since the beginning that they've been customizing that, you know, do really great work, but nobody makes you feel less than them or like they're better than you. Everybody is like on the same level and friendly, and there's really not a jerk in the whole place. So that's nice.
That's fantastic. It really is. You know, I got to talk to David Williams, who awesome guy.
I saw
Walter, of course. Eric LeBron was super friendly. He had a really long conversation with me, you know, out in the parking lot. And it was pretty great. Got to chat with Iz a little bit, which was fantastic. I still had an Iz Ramirez carded figure, you know, and I got him to sign it, which I was super excited about. I've been a fan of his for a long time. But the one that got me was Nate Barch. Going up to have him, you know, I was like, oh, I'll take the Castle Grayskull. Could you sign it, please? And he goes, Joe, right? And my son still makes fun of me about this because I went, you know who I am? And he still says, that's the only time I've ever seen you physically recoil in, you know, your entire life. Like, I think it might be, but the fact that Nate Barch knew who I was, and then I said, you know who I am? And he said, yeah, I like your stuff. And just my mind was blown. I could barely even talk after that because why would Nate Barch pay attention to who I am? You know, in my mind, you know,
right.
So, you know, that was pretty amazing.
No, that is definitely cool when like you see these folks and you really love their work, and then all of a sudden, you know, they they know you and they treat you as a normal person. And I remember when we got to Legions Con this past year, like we had just gotten to the hotel and we heard that there were some folks that were doing setup already. This was on Wednesday, so this is a couple days before everything. And so we went, you know, Billy and I were there together, and we just decided we were going to go in and see if we could help with anything. And we walk in, and I see Jeremy Gerard. Now this is like he's at the far other end of the hall that we did all this stuff at. And he sees me walk in the door, and he comes running over to me to give me a hug, like
awesome.
Like just full speed. And it's like that's just cool, you know?
Yeah. Awesome. Just awesome. It was
it's the same way if you ever get to go to intern, like everybody there, the Four Horsemen themselves, all the people that work at the studio, like everybody is super nice. It's just an amazing experience. Right. So sorry that you can't make it this year. Hopefully one of these years you can make it, because I think you really enjoy it.
Oh, I already know I would. That just teaser was enough. I know I would have a great time. Yeah, one of these years I will be there. There's so many people that I want to meet. You know, even though I can't go to I consider so many people my friends, you know, I've met in this community. This is just an amazing community overall. And
absolutely
so supportive and everything, you know, it's just fantastic. I love it.
Well, did you guys see the story today? I forget who posted in the Cabal. They had talked to Chris James, and like Chris James, like, hey, come meet up at this place. I guess it was a shop. And he was like, oh, I don't know if I should go just meet some random person I don't know in person. And his wife's like, yeah, go. So he went because he was nervous about going out and had a great time. So it's like, it's cool how many people are, I don't want to say coming out of their shells, but like pushing themselves to do stuff, like go meet people and different things. And
no, it's great. I actually have social anxiety. It's a different kind of social anxiety. Being around large groups of people kind of makes me angry. Not like beat people up or yell at people angry, but it's like going to the store, like irritable, you know, you go to the store and the people are in your way and you're like, I just want to get out of here. Would you get out of the way? You know? So yeah. And that was, you know, so that was part of why I had never gone to a con, because some of my friends go to some role-playing cons and invited me quite a few times. And I'm like, God, I don't want to get in a fight with a fat nerd that doesn't shower, because you know, I'm around a large group of people and he's being super annoying, you know, and I say something I shouldn't, you know, stuff like that. So
I tell you what, like the year before, like I really wanted to go to Legions Con, but I just couldn't bring myself to do it. I've got a panic disorder and I'm very prone to panic attacks. And it was just something that I just couldn't bring myself to do. And so then this past year I was like, I'm going to do it no matter what. I'm going to make it there somehow. And I will tell you, it was a very therapeutic experience. It was being around everybody that loves the same hobby that you do, and they're so nice. And there's a lot of people that you've talked to online, and just meeting them face to face. It was an awesome experience. And I don't want to say that that'll be the same for you or would be the same for you, because everybody's different, but for me,
the same.
Yeah. But for me, it was like all of that went away. Like I didn't even think about, I wasn't worrying about or panicking about the things that I normally would, because I was just so consumed with the love and everything that was going on there. So
I'm confident. Oh, sorry, Jesse, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, I'm confident even from the small amount, just the community, because for me, my job isn't necessarily stressful, but I work at a mine, and it's kind of diplomatic, maybe not super progressive. People are grouchy every day, all day, every day. A lot of people. I'm the plant union steward, so nobody ever comes to the union steward with good news. So it's a lot of time. settling disagreements or listening to trying to help people that are having issues that don't want to lose their job and things like that. So, and I love doing it. Don't get me wrong. I like helping people a lot, but then getting to, sit down and paint a figure or open new figures, it's a decompression,
Yep.
and that is such a wonderful part of the hobby. And I think so many people share that. Like I said, there's so much positivity. I hate negativity in a hobby because we do it for fun. I do it for fun. I want to relax with my hobbies. So the last thing I want is any kind of conflict, and we really don't get much of that in this community, and that's pretty fantastic. And I do have to say, I knew about your panic disorder because that's actually what made me fall in love with your guys' show. And this was before Curtis was a regular on the show, but I watched the episode where Jesse interviewed Curtis, and I was like, these guys are a mess. They're my people,
Yeah.
You guys were really relatable, and that's what started me, kind of following the show. Was just a random happenstance of watching that episode. So
that's cool. It is a cool thing, though. You hear a lot of stories of folks that, and people usually say it's weird to say that it's more than just a toy line, but it is. Like it's a community. It's like this whole thing that does it brings people together. So it's really cool.
Yeah, it's fantastic, and we need more positivity. Everybody. I don't know if there's anybody that just gets home from work and goes, my day was so positive, I could just really stand some negativity in my life. Like go. That's not, nobody does that. So
you know what you need? You need some of those Sphexian miners that are just like singing in the mine and having a good time. That's what you need.
Yeah. It's not that kind of mine. Nobody sings where
nobody's singing songs down there. Okay.
But I would really like. I'm hoping some third party does hard hats and reflective vests for my Sphexian miners, because I did
cool. Len, Anthony, whoever's listening,
right?
Hard hats and reflective vests.
Just throwing it out there, soft goods people, reflective vests.
Little metal lunch boxes. Get like some sort of cosmic canary.
So
you're going way back there, Jesse. Yeah.
I mean, Pennsylvania. I've never worked in a mine, but it's
So
Centralia is not far away. So that
Jesse, with the like anxiety and stuff. You were at 2 Legions cons ago as just somebody shopping Legions con and being there, and then last year you obviously had a table. What can you say about those 2 experiences? And
I think for me, my anxiety and panic stuff is a little different. It's more out of like the PTSD depression side of it. It's more that sort of stuff. 2 years ago, it was fine. I mean, there was a lot of people. It was crowded, but like going into it, like I know there's going to be, but everybody was very nice and friendly, and it wasn't like Baltimore Comic-Con, which is one of the biggest Comic-Cons I've gone to, where people are like pushing you to look at the box you're currently flipping through because they got to find that box before you do,
Right.
So it's more of just not knowing when something's gonna set it off. So like the social stuff, I do get a little claustrophobic if I'm in the middle of a crowd and I can't get away, or like if I'm in a grocery store and people are walking slow and I can't move around. It's like, I know I'm walking fast, I'll just go around them, and it's that kind of stuff for me. But then, I mean, for those of you that were at the show this past year, obviously I got to the end of the show and it all fell apart at the very end, partially because I was not eating or sleeping properly or drinking enough water. So it was a perfect storm of a lot of things. It wasn't just that, but like during
for the most of it, that being behind the counter was better for you than actually being in the crowd moving throughout, or no?
No, because when I went to PowerCon in August last year, it was I wasn't at a table, so it was like walking around, hanging out with people. There was a lot of space between those aisles, so like it was a really open space. It was really nice in there. Um, you could just wander around, bump into some other people, talk for a little bit, and then you go different ways. So like it was that sort of stuff is fine. The hard part for me at PowerCon was, again, had hardly slept on the way there, didn't eat for a long time, almost 24 hours. um, by the time I ate that Thursday or Friday night or whatever, and so it was like getting forced to do new things I wasn't used to, like renting a scooter with my phone and riding it down through the streets of Columbus, Ohio, which is fun now. But that first night, I was angry and grouchy and tired. I wanted to take a shower. I was so hungry. It was like that sort of stuff. And
Did you
yeah,
expect to find yourself in Brad's bedroom? Was that
I
on your
kind of knew
bingo
that.
card?
I didn't expect. I did not. I didn't really go into the bedroom. I was just kind of on the door. But yeah.
So
So
that's
like that
just
kind
now.
of.
Everybody should know at Legion's Con, if you see Jesse, get him a protein bar. Right?
I'm going to make sure I have crackers. I've got water. I'll have different people helping me at the table. Not that I didn't last year, but I like basically told the people who were offering to help, I'm like, no, I'm good. And because I didn't want to leave the table, but I also was not, but I've also recently learned I have ADHD. So I was hyper focusing on tending the table. And before I knew it, those days were over. And, oh, I haven't eaten since 7 o'clock when I came down to go behind the table. So,
Right.
so yeah, that's where a lot of my stuff comes. So like for me, the anxiety and panic attacks are usually triggered by internal stuff that's not related to what's going on.
Gotcha.
Noises can be like repetitive noises, like alarms that will set me off.
Mm-hmm.
Like the door chime on my at work when people are coming into the comic shop on a regular basis. Like if it's too regular of a rhythm,
Mm-hmm.
like if it's like every minute and a half, like it just starts,
See, the problem with that is, and I don't know if Curtis will agree with me, but I've been married twice, so you learn to block out certain noises.
I can block out the fire department. There's a firehouse right across the street from me. I live on literally a main street, like Old Town Main Street, USA. And I can ignore it unless I'm on the show or someone's visiting. And then I'm painfully aware of it. When I'm sleeping, can sleep right through it. But if someone else is here, I'm annoyed for them. I can't stand ticking watches or clocks. Like, I remember one time I was like 10. I woke up in the middle of the night because I have like a AA battery, like camping alarm clock in my like dresser drawer in a little bag under stuff. And in the middle of the night, I woke up, I could hear it. I had to go pull the battery out. And like, I hate ticking noises. So yeah.
So I have two clocks in my living room that both tick, and I don't hear them at all, but it does get on some people's nerves when they come to my house. So
like I had to buy fancy electronic timers for my Christmas lights that I have on that are like in spots that I don't want to reach, that didn't make noises, because there were some I could just hear like just constantly like churning, and it would drive me nuts. Middle of the night, other side of the apartment. And you saw my apartment; it's not that big, but I could hear in the quiet of the night. Anyway, so
yeah. And any traumas you want to talk about, Curtis? Or
let's see. The clock thing did remind me of a story about when I was young. So I used to travel with my parents. My dad is sold color for plastic, and so was always on the road when we were younger. And in the summer we would go with him. So we would go on these long road trips, and if we were good, they would typically buy us a toy and then let us swim in the hotel pool, and it was nice. Well, one time they went and they decided they were going to go out to dinner, and they left me and my sister in the hotel. And I was probably 16 at the time. No, I wasn't. I was like 12 at the time. My sister was, I don't know, 8 or 9, and she was just being annoying as hell. And we had this my dad had this alarm clock that was like one of those I don't know if you remember those old fold up ones. And it was like when it would ring, it was like an actual bell, like ringing nonstop. And so she kept setting this thing off, and it was just annoying the piss out of me. And so I like took it away from her, and she was crying, and then did the whole like she had to promise like whatever the whole thing, like stick a needle in my eye thing, whatever, whatever. So she did it again. So I went and grabbed my dad had some like supplies from his briefcase and stuff. I went and grabbed a push pin and acted like I was going to stick her in the eye because she lied. Right. So I've got her, like, I'm holding her down on the bed, and I'm like going like this. And she goes to cover her face. And when she covered her face, she like grabbed my hand as she pulled towards her face. And it actually did poke her like in her eyelid, like under her eye, and it like the tiniest trickle of blood you ever did see, like a little tiny dot there under her eye. And like when my parents got back to the hotel, I got my.
That's exactly how he told his parents the story.
Bad.
Just the tiniest trickle.
Well, it was just a little tiny dot, and at that point, it like obviously it way stopped bleeding, but it was just a little tiny dot there. But she was ballistic, and yeah, my parents. They just whooped my ass, something vicious. And I don't know why I thought of that, but when Jesse was talking about the ticking, I was like,
the clocks. And then I hadn't put it together, but the fold-up alarm clock that you're talking about, when I first started working at the mine, I was on graveyards, and like a wristwatch alarm would not wake me up when I was, taking a nap during my lunch break, because I didn't get one in the morning. I would take naps, so I actually got one of those fold-up alarm clocks because you couldn't sleep through it. It was possible.
Yeah, I could sleep through a lot of stuff, but you can't sleep through that.
My phone alarm to wake me up is the T-Rex roar from Jurassic Park.
Oh, all right.
So every morning my day starts off, if I'm not already awake before the alarm goes off, is it's great.
I've got the best alarm clock, the best alarm in the world, and that is my wife coming into the bedroom and going, "Are you ready to get up yet?" I'm like, "Yeah, I am." Wow. Like just all sweet and nice, and she's the best. And that's so much better to wake up to than wah wah wah.
Yeah, yes, because I've used the same alarm for like 20 years, and sometimes I'll hear it in a movie. It'll have the exact same tone, and it will totally like PTSD, oh God, I hate that sound.
Yeah.
Like those old red digital alarm clocks with like the wood paneling.
Yes. You guys want to hear a funny story about that? It's a quick one.
Sure.
I had just started working at the mine, and I'd grown up on a farm and worked at a neighbor's farm and stuff like that. But this was a whole new level of like hard physical work. And so I slept through my alarm. The next day I was like, okay, I'm going to put the alarm across the room. So I have to get out of bed and walk across the room. And I put it next to a chair across the room. The next day I'm guessing, I don't really remember. I got up and I walked across the room, turned off the alarm, and then fell asleep with my head on the alarm. And when I woke up, I actually had lines. I had slept for like 3 hours with my head on top of the speaker. And those lines were like on my forehead for hours after that. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I had a buddy that this was before, like, now you've got like drone technology and stuff, but this is probably 10 years ago. He had this alarm clock that had like a little helicopter on top of the alarm clock. So when the alarm would go off, the helicopter would take off, and it had like an actual like working blade. It would take off and fly across the room making alarm sounds. So you have to get up and chase this thing down and put it back on its base before the alarm will go off.
And not
that
break
makes
it?
you get out of bed. Yeah.
I would have had that for one day.
So this thing would go off, and he would have to chase it throughout the room and put it back on the base. I'm like, yeah, no, I would. The first time it went off, I'd destroy it. It'd be thrown against the wall.
Yeah,
okay.
absolutely.
Worst thing that ever woke me up, not worst, but one of the most awkward wake ups ever was I was somewhere else up in the mountains. So it's always like it wasn't like anxiety or anything, but it's always a little uncomfortable sleeping in a new place, traveling, lots anyway. So it was just an adjustment. And I wake up, it was like pre-dawn, and I just keep hearing this like dang. It was a metal roof. I'm like, what is going on up there? Dang. And then, like I'm like, are there like giant squirrels out there? Like, what is going on? So it was like some sort of nuts were like falling on the roof of the hotel or the lodge we were in. Yeah. And I go outside and then I just see this shadow swoop over my head and I freaked out. It was a peacock. There were peacocks that had like nested in like these tall, like evergreen trees. And then it jumped onto the roof of the building and they were like knocking the pine cones off the trees. But like, I didn't know peacocks flew. Like, I mean, it was more of a glide. Like they have to fly somewhat.
Right. I hate peacocks.
And then they start screaming, and it's just like, who is murdering a small child?
You know what? They're at least the ones around here. A neighbor of mine used to have those, and they lived way down the road. But I guess the peacocks got out one night, and they do it actually kind of sounds like someone crying for help. Help! 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 I wake up in the middle of the night and I hear like 3 people calling for help, and go running outside like, oh my God, what's going on? And there was a bunch of peacocks in the middle of the road.
That's funny.
Yeah. Well, and part of the thing that set off, because when we pulled into this place, it was middle of the night and there's a guy outside with like an M16 or something guarding like the gate. Mm-hmm. So, it's kind of like I've never slept in a place under an armed guard before.
Right.
Because where we were at, it was one of the only places in the for miles that had electricity because they had a generator for visitors that came.
Where was this at?
This was in Lesotho. It's a landlocked country inside of South Africa.
Okay, I got it.
So it's like if Missouri was its own country inside the United States.
Right. I got you.
Jesse, you were in South Africa?
I was in Lesotho.
Okay. Gotcha.
Well, the first time I went to Mexico, I went with at the time, my father-in-law. And we went to Mexico and right across the border, and there's a bank, and then there's 5 armed guards outside with machine guns. And first time seeing that doesn't make you feel super comfortable. So yeah. I can relate.
I was in Guadalajara, Mexico in 96 or 97. And from the hotel, we looked out and there's a bank and a Blockbuster across the street. Mm-hmm. The Blockbuster had a tall fence with barbed wire and 2 guards with machine guns. Mm-hmm. The bank had nothing.
Right.
Interesting.
Yeah. Blockbuster was better guarded, at least from the outside.
Take a DVD.
No, well, if the bank is owned by certain people, it doesn't get robbed.
Right.
Right. Gotcha. Right. Gotcha. But that Blockbuster is going to lose a Matrix DVD.
Matrix didn't exist yet.
Okay.
And it was still mostly, 96, like DVDs weren't at least in my area, DVDs weren't even a thing yet, really. Yeah, they existed, but yeah, we're still talking VHS.
Nice. That's funny. Okay. So if we're doing story time, odd waking up, I did wake up to my house completely full of smoke one time. I woke up and like so thick you couldn't even hardly see like 2 feet in front of you. And
if this isn't a marijuana story, I'm going to be a little bit disappointed.
No, it's not. So it is. And my twins who are 17 now, I want to say they were 2, maybe even less than that at the time. They might have been like 1.5. And so like I get up and I see like there's smoke everywhere and I like just start screaming for everybody to get out of the house. and I run down the hall and I kick open the door and I grab the twins and I go running outside with one on each shoulder, just like running down the stairs. And I'm like shouting at everybody else to get out of the house. And we had to call the fire department. And luckily, nothing really got damaged. It was smoke damage, but nothing like burned up. But what had happened was my wife had bought some. This is my ex-wife, but she had bought some clothes at Goodwill, and they were in like a grocery bag in the kitchen, like up on a shelf. I don't know why she left them in the kitchen on a shelf, but that's where they were. And one of the stupid cats had knocked it off of the shelf, and it landed on the toaster. With just enough pressure to push the handle of the toaster down. Wow. And it lit that bag on fire and just filled the entire house with smoke. I guess it must have been going for a couple hours by the time because we were upstairs and it filled up the whole upstairs and everything with smoke. And yeah, so that's what it was. So another reason to hate cats. For anybody out there, cats are dumb. They're jerks. So just FYI.
I love my cat.
That cat. No, cats aren't dumb. That cat knew what it was doing. That was a calculated attack.
Okay, you're right. Cats are not dumb. Cats are jerks.
Cats are evil.
Yeah, now that'll agree.
And I love dogs.
My favorite wake up story to tell people is when I was with my first wife. She woke me up in the middle of the night and said, "Someone's outside. Someone's looking through the window." And I said, No, there's not. You're just having a nightmare. Go back to sleep. No, really. There's somebody outside. There's nobody outside. Just go back to sleep. No, I saw that. All right. So I get up, throw on my slippers. I'm walking around the house and with a flashlight in my underpants. And I'm like, wait a minute. What if someone is out here, Like, what am I going to do in my underpants with a flashlight? So I start heading back to go back into the house, and my cell phone rings. And so I look, and I don't recognize the number. Hello? And it's the sound of someone walking in gravel. And I'm like, hello? Who is this? This isn't funny. Knock it out. It was like, this was before Scream really, before I had seen it anyways, like this, but it was scary. So I was like, oh my God, I hung up the phone. I ran back in the house. And once I, calmed down a little bit, I called the number back, and my friend who worked at road construction at a gravel pit on Graveyard is like, oh, sorry, I must have pocket dialed you.
Oh gosh.
But you want to talk about a string of coincidences, there was nobody outside, but that was the absolute worst time for a guy walking through gravel to pocket dial.
Right.
And that was probably the most scared I've been in my entire life.
Those calls are coming from inside the house.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
I feel like we're on OffWorld telling all these stories. Yeah.
That's okay.
That's all right. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no agenda here, douche or otherwise.
The very first episode. Now this is a story, a short one, but I was watching the first episode of OffWorld with you guys, and the episode went on for quite a while. I'm having a great time. I'm laughing. The Curtis rubbing comics on his lips thing was just killing me. I'm crying, laughing, and then my girlfriend is like, "Hey, you're still watching that show?" And I'm like, "Yeah, this is great." And she goes, "Well, the car needs gas and I want some ice cream." I'm like, "Oh, okay, I'll take you to get gas. We can grab some from the mini mart." So go and get gas. Put my headphones in, got it going on my phone, just enjoying the show. And I'm in the mini mart going to pay for her ice cream, and Curtis starts telling a story about grabbing something and squishing it with his toes. Or I'm trying not to laugh because I've got headphones and no one else can hear anything. And I literally have tears, and the lady behind the counter is like, she didn't say, "Are you okay?" But she had that like, "Are you okay?" kind of look, Yeah, no, that'll be everything. Thank you. And gosh, man, when I got outside, I just started busting up laughing. People just must have thought I was crazy. That was just like the worst timing. Fantastic story, just bad timing. Yeah, it was hard. It was hard to even swipe the card because I was like, I can't like hold my hand steady enough. Laughing.
Oh, that's fantastic.
So,
Good times.
I genuinely enjoyed that. That was good.
Oh man, talking about what are you gonna do in a situation like that? I'll tell another quick story if that's all right.
Go ahead.
Sure, absolutely.
Not somewhere in the last 10 years, I was working at a church on maintenance crew. So essentially, I spent my days taking the trash out. It's that big of a place. Like it took me all day to empty all the trash cans. Sundays, some of the part-time people had to be there for Sunday mornings, and if there was something at Sunday evenings, so you had to be there in case people needed into rooms, make sure everything got turned off when people left. And I'm talking like one of those huge. It's a huge church. And I was walking outside, or I could see up on the there's like this entrance, like an overpass where you could like pull in, drop people off, and there was like a thing up there, and I knew there was access to the vents and stuff up there, like to change them and everything. Mm-hmm. And I see this guy like walking on the edge. I'm like, what is going on? There was it was around the time where there had been some church like attacks here in the States. There's, threats being made at churches. So I was a little on edge, and I was trying to get up there, and I didn't have a key to get on the roof. So I'm trying to communicate with people. It was way too long. I was getting really stressed out because this guy with like a backpack up there. I'm like, what is going on? So finally, we finally learn that it was like a guy from the AV part department that was like getting shots of like the landscape off the back of the church because there's like hills and mountains and stuff. And I was like, okay. I was like, man, it would have been really nice to like know that ahead of time. Because someone had to have let him get up there. And it's just like we're talking on the walkie-talkies with like all the ushers and all these different, and then someone comes up to me and they're like, you were trying to get up there, right? I was like, yeah. And they're like, what were you gonna do? I was like, I don't know, tackle him off the side and hope I land on him. Like, I was like, if it was someone that was making a threat, my only thought was like, get them off the roof.
Tackle them off the side. I was gonna murder them,
Well, and probably myself. I'm not terrified of heights, but I get vertigo. I get dizzy going up a stairwell that's got like a like railing banister. If it's not enclosed, or like glass escalators in the movie theater.
That's not how science works. Landing on another person doesn't that's just a movie trope. Like you will die.
I know. So, yeah. I mean, it was only a little over a story. It wasn't like I was like 4 stories up or anything.
When you said a really big church, I was picturing like
it's spread out. Like it's not like, I mean, I don't know. I don't know heights. It was probably at least 15, 20 feet off the ground. So
off the side.
Yeah, they just looked at me dead seriously, like, what were you going to do if you got out there?
Well, I just see Jesse like, tackling some guy off the side.
Would have been a heroic moment, though, like tackling the guy, hair blowing. They were like,
well, yeah, I mean,
turns out it's like an old lady or something. Like, what were you doing?
I mean, it was definitely a dude. Like, I saw like straps and like it looked like tactical stuff, but it was like a video equipment, like a camera backpack. So, but they were all in like dark clothes and stuff. And my only thought was like, get them off so and push them off where there's, again, wasn't the brightest thought. I wasn't trying to be brave. It was just like,
no, you were thinking about getting them off. I got it.
My stepdad. All right, here, let's get into the trauma stuff. My stepdad was if I dropped stuff, I got yelled at or worse. So a couple of years ago, or last year, right after I started customizing Mythic Legions, I was cutting something at work with a razor blade. I dropped it, and like a utility knife. I went to catch it, and I caught it with my thumb, and had to get stitches, because my instinct is don't let it touch the ground. So,
supposed to let it go.
Yes. So
you're saying if you had pushed the guy off the roof, you would have also tried to catch him, or before he hit the ground?
No, probably. Yeah,
just a joke. I'm kidding.
I don't know. Yeah.
Did I ever tell you the story about me getting in trouble in school for my behavior? Did I tell you about
Which
that?
one?
There's only really one. Um, I don't know that I did, but so we had when I was in elementary school, we had where each week they sent home like an envelope with any of your artwork that you did or whatever stupid homework assignments or whatever, and then on the envelope each week they would write down a 1, 2, or 3 for your behavior. Right, 1 was good, 2 was okay, 3 was bad. And after so many threes, your parents had to come into the school and have a talk with the teacher and the principal. And so I had one of those to where I'd had enough threes. They had to come in there. And basically, my parents told me, hey, we don't like having to take a day off work and go in to do this. You get another 3 again. That's it. You're going to get your ass whooped and you're losing all of your toys for 6 months. So that's big. That's like huge. So the going through the week, everything's been fine. And then like the teacher tells us to sit because we're going to have like a story time or whatever. So we go to sit down and like everybody kind of sits kind of spread out a little bit, but enough to where there wasn't another spot to sit. And I was like, where am I supposed to sit? She's like, I don't care. Just sit down somewhere. So I sat in the trash can next to the teacher's desk and everybody laughed and it was funny. I thought it was funny. She did not find it funny. And so she put a 3 on my envelope for that week. And I'm sitting there telling her, like, listen, you got to change this. You got to make it like, I'm going to get in trouble. Like, I'm sorry. And she's like, nope, that's what it is. I'm like, okay, shit. So you'd have to bring this home to your parents and then they had to sign it. And then you had to bring it back on Monday. So I get it home and I'm like, I cannot show this to my parents. I'm going to lose my toys and I'm going to get my ass beat. It's not going to be good. So I'm looking at it and I'm like, what if I just sign my mom's name? Like I'm looking at the other signatures from the past weeks and I'm like, I can do this. Like it's not, she doesn't have that hard of a signature, So I'm like, okay, I'll just, do this and then she won't know and it'll be fine. So I go and like do my best attempt at signing her name. And I'm looking at it and I'm like, it looks pretty good, but it doesn't look right, like totally right. So I scratch it out and I write it again. And now it looks a little bit better, but I'm like, I still don't, it's not quite there. So I scratch that out and I write it a third time. And at this point, it's getting pretty good, but I'm like, I still think that I could do better. So I scratch it out one more time, but I don't have any more space left. So I have to turn the envelope sideways and like write it up the side of the margin. And I write it up the side of the margin and I look at it and I go, this is spectacular. There is no way the teacher's going to know that this is not my mom's signature. Keep in mind, I've already scratched it out 3 times, and this is now written up the side of the margin. But I'm looking at this with the fullest confidence in the world that I have just nailed this signature, and I am in good shape. So, like, just went through the whole weekend. My mom didn't ask about it, and I'm like, okay, cool. I'm going to get away with this because I nailed this. Bring it to my teacher on Monday, and she's like, she pulls me aside. She's like, your mom didn't sign this, did she? So I was like, oh, yeah, right there. You can see it. I said, she messed up a couple times, but this one right here, you can tell it's the same as the other ones. She goes, okay, well, I just want to confirm, so I'm going to have to call her. I'm like, no. You don't want to bother her. She's real mean, and she'll yell at you probably because you're bothering her with silly stuff. I'm telling you, yeah. So that did not end well, and I ended up getting my toys taken away and got my ass beat. It was good times. So,
what grade was this?
This was 2nd or 3rd grade, something like that.
Okay.
And it was one of the ass whoopings that my mom would dish out, which was way worse than my dad. Like he would use the belt, which was, belt's rough, but she would take this like plastic paddle ball and she ripped the ball off. And she would like reach it up in the air and like channel the power of Thor, and lightning would come down and hit it. And then she would just knock your ass right off. And yeah, so it was,
yeah. When Dad does it, it's you shouldn't have done that. When mom does
Yeah,
it,
no.
it's altering your personality.
Yeah,
You will
she was
never
like
do this.
channeling demons or something. I don't know. Like there was words coming out of her mouth that didn't make sense. She was speaking in tongues, and then yeah, it was.
Wow.
But if you're ever going to forge somebody's signature, do not scratch it out 3 times and then write it up the margin sideways.
I'm just glad you said second or third grade. If that was like junior high, I would have been really disappointed.
No, this was young, but it was still. I look back on it and I go, there is nothing that I've done since that day that I've had that much confidence in. I've never turned in any assignment for work or school and had as much confidence as I had that day on that forged signature. I was like, I freaking nailed it.
That is Mama Mud Thump confidence right there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
It's like I think they in this area anyways, they used to play a Springer commercial where it had like this lady, and she was very overweight, but she was not wearing a lot of clothes. And she was like on Springer show, and she was talking about how everybody tells her that she looks good and she knows she looks good like this. And somebody in the crowd goes, "Somebody lied to you, girl." But her confidence level walking out of the house was like the same as me with that forged signature. It was like I knew, yeah, that was going to work. But somehow it did. Somehow the teacher caught it. I'm not sure how she caught it, but somehow she did.
Yeah, that's
unexplained mysteries.
Mind-boggling.
And brick something back then, that was not child abuse. That was just normal kids getting punished. Today that might be considered child abuse. Back then,
oh, I like this. You're gonna start sending the horsemen are just gonna start getting number 3s with Curtis's name sent to the warehouse.
Listen, I know that the horsemen don't want to do all-star voting anymore. I'm just doing the dirty work for them by putting it out there. I'm helping them. They're putting 1s on my card.
Oh, sorry, Curtis, your mic went dead. We're having some technical difficulties here.
That's cool. I don't agree, Danny. Today I would say, yeah, that might be child abuse. Back then, that was just parents just spank kids, you know?
I mean, they also used to put like actual Coke in Coca-Cola. So, I mean, you live, you learn. And yeah. So, toys. We got a question from Star for Joe.
Okay.
Are there any figures that you had before you got rid of? Wait, are there any figures? Why don't I pull it up? That you had before and got rid of that you wish you had not?
No, because I never get rid of anything.
Well, that's a good way to do it.
So, yeah, I mean, I am. I've mentioned it before. I don't have an entrepreneur's bone in my body, so I never think about selling anything. Everything that I had when I was a kid was in a shed until my kids were old enough for my parents to give it to them to destroy my stuff. But yeah, no, I never get rid of anything that I regret. I mean,
even
I don't want to say I'm giving away something. No, not. I had Spirit, the G.I. Joe figure, when I was a kid, and like another kid. I lived in a trailer park at the time, and another kid stole the bird, you know. And
was his name Pablo?
I know Curtis can relate. Yeah.
Was it Pablo?
Could have been. I don't actually remember what his name was. That's how much of an impact he had on me. But no, I don't. I can't think of a single figure that I got rid of. There are figures that I have gifted to people, and I'm very happy that I did. But then you look at the prices later on and go, man, I traded that for like a Legion builder. But then if I had kept them, it's not like I would have ever sold them. You know what I mean?
Right.
I
I think,
actually tell my kids all the time.
Cullen's fishing out here. Said, so if you could hook somebody with a figure right now, who would it be and which figure? I think he's fishing for a figure there, Joe.
Cullen was actually, I think, the first person that I helped out. He was looking for Flamingus feet. And I hadn't been in the cabal for very long. And I was like, oh, well, I display them with only, the standing feet, and he wanted the extras, and I was able to help him out with those. But that actually happens to me all the time, where somebody will mention that they would like to have a figure, and I go, darn it, I used to have a spare of that and gave it away, and just not get. I usually do a trade, so that way people don't feel like I'm just giving things away. I usually, but I got most of the figures, the older figures, for really an inexpensive price. So I would feel guilty asking for any considerable trade or amount of money for them. And if people need a figure, I like to help out when I can.
Yeah.
So if I have it and I have a spare of it, and someone says that they don't have it and would like to have it, I usually try to hook them up, whoever it is.
So are you?
I know
100%?
I have been on the receiving end of that. So
yeah, I got a cardness from you for traded some horses, so that was cool.
Yeah, and that cardness, I'd had it for so long in a box, just like collecting dust. The value, I mean, I probably paid $20 for that bird, realistically.
Yeah.
Those just weren't very expensive when I was collecting them. So,
Right. So are you 100% complete with the line then at this point?
Yes. Everything that's been released. Absolutely.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I actually have all of Seventh Kingdom. I have all of Gothotropolis and wings, the correct wings with the birds.
Awesome.
Yeah, and then all of Mythic Legions. So I am a complete.
Are you going all in on Cosmic as well?
I already have, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And I don't have Cosmic in hand yet. I guess I'm probably not as excited as everyone else right now, but I'm sure I will be when I get the figures. I mean, they're
all right. Let's talk down Star real quick. He's said not yet. I mean, once he gets them in hand, Star, he'll probably be excited about them. So don't leave.
I'm not saying that I'm not excited. I just don't have the level of excitement that some people have. When people say that, I'm done with Legions when Cosmic comes out, Mythics when Cosmic comes out. That is not me.
Yeah, I don't think I would be done with Mythics, but I am very excited for Cosmic. I think I'm more excited for Cosmic than Mythics at this point, but I'm definitely going to keep going with both lines.
I'm with you, Joe. Sure. Mythics, because the D&D and the Lord of the Rings, like that whole fantasy, like that's going to be my wheelhouse. I think Cosmic is cool, but you saw my tour. I don't really have a lot of space for the Cosmics. I'll keep making room for Mythics, and I'll get some Cosmics, but I think they look great. I wish I had the space and money for all of them, but yeah. I think, I'm with you. I'm excited for them, and I'm especially excited for folks like Kevin and Star who are really excited for them.
Yeah, absolutely.
At least you're maximizing the space that you do have, Jesse. You haven't gotten to the point like where you get some collectors where they've got like a storage space and they've got like things in a storage space and boxes and stuff.
Years ago, I had. Sure. Go ahead.
I was waiting for where you had them like taped to the ceiling, like you have used every bit of space that you can utilize.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he's like, I didn't show you the bathroom, but there are some in there, but I'm not going to show you.
My bathroom's great. It's got a pink toilet and a pink sink and mint green walls. It's great. It's really old. No, years
Yeah.
ago I had tons of the Marvel Legends when they were Toy Biz.
Mm.
But right?
Yeah,
Yeah, the Toy Biz ones.
I might have a complete collection of those. So
Oh
yes.
wow! Yeah.
And at the time, I was like living in half of a basement, running part of a basement at a friend's house, and I had a bunch of stuff out, and I was like, you know what, I need to get rid of the stuff that I don't have on display, because like they've been in there for like 2 years in boxes, and I don't feel the need to pull them out, so I got rid of stuff. So that's the same thing here. Like, if I'm gonna box it and put it away, unless it's like a holiday themed thing that I pull out only at the holidays that they're appropriate for, I don't keep them.
Nice.
I don't have anywhere to store stuff. Like,
Yeah, I have room, but there are those times, I've been with my current girlfriend for like 3 years now, and I have a display in my living room. The D&D minis, when they came out with the pre-painted D&D minis, the series of them, I collected the first 12 series of those, and I have them in a glass cabinet in my living room.
oh,
And
nice.
My girlfriend is not interested in toys at all in any way, shape, or fashion, and come in and be like, "Oh, what are those?" It's like, "Oh, do you know what Dungeons and Dragons is?" And she's like, "No." Oh, okay. And then eventually the bedroom, and so you buy Legos. Well, technically they're Mega Bloks Halo, but yes. So, it's one of those things where you're like trying to put on that good first impression, but your real self has to come out,
Yeah.
And so, it's better to be honest with people, for sure. I was like, hey, look, this is who I am. So, and yeah. Jeez.
Yeah, it's Colin. It's if it's not on display, it's not needed. That's kind of how I am too. Like, the only thing I really had that wasn't on display was my classics, my Motu classics, and I just got rid of all those because I had them in the garage for like 2 years after we moved, and I really didn't have the space for them. And I'm like, I'm happy with the stuff that I do have displayed, so I just ended up selling them. So
oh, yeah. Now, Anthony Halseal says if she didn't know what D&D is, she's too young for you, bro. So it's interesting that he mentions that, because she's 10 years younger than me. I'm 46, she's 36. So it's not like, too big of a gap. But you'll notice in my profile picture, my beard is black, because twice, once at a car dealership and once at a doctor's office, someone thought that I was her father.
Oh boy.
And so she encouraged me to dye my beard for a length of time. But that's actually a lot of work to keep up with, and it didn't last very long. But that's why the beard is all black in the profile picture, because that just lined up during that, So she might be too young for me, Anthony, actually.
Colin says Anthony sounds jealous.
Anthony, you're up pretty late for a school night.
He was getting ideas on how to make Sphexians into miners earlier. He was taking notes. So hard hats.
Well, and then he's commenting on age. He's thinking of the wrong kind of miners.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
We're gonna back away from that. Joe, you sent. I think now would be a good time to bring in.
Oh, okay.
You. Do you want to set this up before I bring these in?
Just a little bit. So, I coming on the show, excited, really wanted to do something special for my time, or at least special from my point of view. So I made a couple customs that these are first time reveals. I was imagining things going different, and talking about customizing, and we just had a ton of fun telling stories, which is awesome. But so I thought that would be a contributing thing, it's just to have a couple extra customs. I was going to write bios for them, and unfortunately I had a 70-hour work week and didn't have time. I actually got up at 3:30 this morning just to get these finished. But
okay.
Yeah, I really wanted to get them done. But I do have little bits of information and names for them and stuff.
Okay.
I didn't know about this, so I'm excited.
I know you didn't. I'm excited too.
Oh, nice.
Yes. So this character is actually a librarian. He is the caretaker of Xylona's Flock's library, and his name is Jessus of Arnhold.
Oh, wow. Look at that. You got your satchel, you got your book. Wow.
And he is rarely seen without his satchel and notebook. But he also, even though he's a man of learning, he can be provoked to violence, and he does wield the legendary weapon, the banhammer. So
nice.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Banhammer.
I did not know any of that. I just saw the picture.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
I was going to write up the bios and send them to you guys. But yeah.
Oh, that's awesome, man.
I love it.
For some reason, the scarf just seemed like it fit the character, So.
I have been known to rock a scarf.
Yeah. I just love that it's got a satchel and a book. That's what you said you wanted on your character.
It's yeah, and he's on a dwarf body.
Yeah, now he just needs a writing desk.
No, that's
I didn't have enough
librarians.
time. I didn't have
Librarian's not going out in the field to take notes. If he's going out in the field, he's taking that hammer. This is so cool, Joe. What torso is that?
Kevin said I felt that.
That's a planetary dog choice.
Okay.
It's I think it's meant to be an orc torso. Yeah, it's usually shown with their orc heads. It's
okay.
It's got a lot of angles on it. The reason I picked it is because of the 2.0 Thistlethorn body. The way the shape and the copper on the side and the green in front. This was the first, see, I'm pointing at the screen like you guys can see what I'm pointing at. But the copper,
I'm not the only one.
right. I totally just did that. But the shape is why I use that torso, because then I tried to take inspiration from the Thistlethorn original paint scheme, not be exact with it, but try and match it. And the satchel and book, actually, I think they have a set called like the Apothecary's Kit or something like that, and those two pieces were there.
Okay.
With that,
I thought they looked familiar. I have those. I haven't painted them yet, but I have them.
You have a satchel and a book, and you haven't painted them yet, Jesse?
I haven't gotten to the character that they belong to yet.
Right.
It belongs to Jesse. It should be the Jesse kit.
Right. Just put them on a necklace, man.
The Jesse figure I put together has the Krotos bag with like the scroll rolled up on it and everything. So he's got one. Yeah.
Right on. And
then this is just so cool. Are you ready to
the hammer?
To
I had actually picked up the hammer. I was going to put it with I'm going to draw a blank on the name, but the Cyclops Smith.
Archimedes.
Archimedes, yes, correct.
Yeah, I've only ever seen that topper with an ogre weapon, so it's interesting to see it on this. That's cool.
Yeah, but when I was thinking about, I thought I've got to do a banhammer thing. Like that was just such a funny time.
Sorry, Kevin.
Sorry. But so it couldn't be just like a regular hammer, for a character it had to be something impressive. But the dwarves already have such large hammers. I was like, what am I going to do to like outdo that? And I was digging through my parts and I was like, oh yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
That is pretty impressive. I love how the story came together on that figure. That's cool.
I love it.
Thank
Very
you.
cool.
Very cool.
All right. Let's see. All right. Anything you want to say before I bring up the next picture?
Just that. Well, I'll get into the inspiration after the
Okay.
pictures up. Curtis
All right.
might be able to pick out this one.
Oh, nice.
So this character's name is actually Maurice Tur, right? Or Maurice Tiss, excuse me. Maurice Tiss, but better known galaxy wide as Tiss the Cur. And he is a space bandito. Curtis mentioned
awesome
liking a space cowboy. So
yeah.
I just took that and kind of ran with it.
That is cool.
So you know, he's a bounty hunter for Tusk, and you know, if he's after you, your capture is inevitable.
Nice. Where these parts come from? Like the gauntlets and the legs, like those are really cool.
So the chest, belt, calves and feet, and forearm pieces are from Noble Bear. He actually sells those pieces right now.
Gotcha.
It comes with or you can also get like a more space-like head that has goggles and stuff. It's a pretty cool set. So I had really picked that up. Yeah, and this is the one I hadn't had any of the paintwork done, and I actually was trying a new technique with this one, which is reverse dry brushing. So,
on the metal part with the blue.
Yeah. So, and it's something that I want to do. And I was actually really nervous because I was like, God, if I screw this up, I'm not going to have enough time to get it done before the show. But I had never tried it before. But Army Painter sells a metallic primer. It's called plate mail, and it's a metallic primer. So I spray that on and then use their speed paints and an airbrush. And when it goes on, it is super. You can rub it off with your finger. You know what I mean? So I primed pieces and sprayed them, and then just took a paper towel and rubbed over them to get the effect of the paint scratches, because it's actually paint scratches, and then just seal them so that they wouldn't scratch anymore after that.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah,
and it turned out, and I was like, phew, thank goodness. So, and then right when I was setting it up to take the photos, I snapped one of the forearm guns off the peg. Try because the coat, you have to pop the arms out to put the coat on. And I was popping it back in, I snapped the gun off on his right arm. So I had to glue that on real quick, but I got it all done in time. So these are my just Shelve tribute characters.
So some people call him Maurice.
Maurice is his name. They call him Tiss the Cur. And if Cur Tiss is after you, your capture is inevitable.
Are those the guns from Brian C?
Yes, they are.
That's cool. I just ordered a set of those. They haven't come in yet, but yeah, that's awesome.
They are really cool. And actually, let me see if I can. So he's not going to have a head while I'm showing you this. But finding a holster for these guns was not easy. So I put magnets on them.
Oh, that's cool.
Oh, that's great.
So that way, and it's a space thing, right? Like all space people just stick a gun to their leg or their arm. Oops. So that's all it is a small magnet on the pistol and on his
I
waist.
love that.
Yeah,
So,
that's really
and
cool.
yeah, and they're both like that. So that was how I fixed that problem.
Got a question from Cullen there. Will these figures be shelved?
Maybe it's always my intention to shelve customs, but they usually end up on a box. I'm actually running out of space right now, so yeah, there was he can hear me right now, but my son never moved out, my middle boy, so I was going to turn his room into a toy display room. And it's fine that he didn't go, but now I'm running out of room, so I need to rearrange some other things in the house to get a place to display my customs. Most of my customs are just stacked up in a box right now. So.
Gotcha. That's really cool. I love that weathering effect on the boots, because I saw those. You sent those right before the show, so I didn't even I looked at them to put the slideshow together, but I didn't I was like, I'm not going to look at them. I'm going to wait for the show. So yeah, seeing that detail on those boots and the scuff on the armor is really cool.
It turned out really well, and I was really glad because I had never tried it. It was something that I wanted to try, but hadn't actually done before. And I was just praying, please, God, make this work, because I'm not going to have it done in time. It'll be like, all right, Jesse, here's your tribute. And Curtis, nothing for you, buddy. Sorry. So,
yeah, I've seen Jeremy do that technique. I've never tried it myself. I've wondered about it. So
the reverse way?
Yeah, you think was it pretty easy though, you think, or?
It was too easy. That's actually how I discovered it. When I did my unicorn character, that was that blue, how I did the blue metal effect.
Gotcha.
Was just, I primed it with that metallic primer and then sprayed on the color. And it's really easy to use speed paints with an airbrush. They're just water, So, man, it sprayed on really good. And I was like, that's awesome. It dried, and I grabbed it and immediately rubbed it off with my fingers. And I was like, oh, no. So now I know if I'm coloring with that, I have to seal it right away before I actually touch it. So,
see, I just ordered this not too long ago so that I could get the holsters and the bullets and stuff. So I stole that from this guy. I'm working on one myself right now. So
Brian's guns are fantastic. But they will not fit in those holsters.
Yeah, I kind of figured they wouldn't fit.
There's so many, because I actually ordered some 12th scale cloth goods ones.
Yeah.
To go, I ordered them the same place I got the coat from. That I'm drawing a blank on the name, but yeah, not even close. They're like the end of the barrel will fit in them. They're
I love the magnet idea. That's really cool, especially with, like you said, if you're going for a cosmic vibe, that magnet.
Yeah, necessity is the mother of invention. I was just like, because my job is kind of boring. I'm an oiler. I grease things at work, so I'm just walking around with a grease gun a lot, just in my own head, and that was one of the day's problems. Like, how am I going to beat the holster problem?
Yeah.
And,
so did you Dremel a hole in it to put the magnet so the magnet was flush, or is the magnet on top of it?
It's actually on top. I thought about doing that, and then I also know myself and totally tried to do, because they're miniature magnets. They're magnets for miniatures. So they're really, really small, and I would have tried to do it and just exploded the gun into a million pieces, I'm sure. So I glued them on top, but then just painted them the same color as what they're attached to. Yeah. And with it being, like a cosmic vibe, it just looks like part of, the gun and the waist piece. So
that's really cool.
Yeah, that was fun. So
Excellent. Yeah,
Beautiful.
that's true. And no, Colin, I didn't say I didn't look at them. Like I saw what they were, but I didn't look over the details. So if you send me pictures to be on the show, we're not going to have any surprise wardrobe malfunction pictures as far as my side of the controls go. I don't know about Curtis.
Jesse
So
gives us the
could
one
we bring up
over,
the
but
Space Cowboy one more time, please? I did forget
Yeah.
a feature. So the center part, there I am pointing again, but the center part with the yellow, I was trying to make like a headlight effect, and unfortunately the camera couldn't pick it up. But I actually colored clear resin with alcohol ink, yellow, and poured that in there to try and I was trying to make it look like a flashlight or some type.
yeah,
of light.
it looks iridescent, like a display, like
Right.
like if it would read something. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was actually trying to get that. That's actually like clear resin. Well, it's colored yellow, but I painted underneath yellow and then put the yellow resin over it to try and get that flashlight like glass effect. And the camera didn't pick it up great, but it's there if you look. So
Very cool.
Yeah, that's really cool.
And the most expensive piece on this is actually his loin piece, because that loin piece is from the Night Builder, from the original Night Builder, Night Builder 1.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. So it just looked like it fit to me, So I
that's good.
And
that's great.
I had to glue it down though because it was always getting in the way. So it's a part of this custom forever.
I love how the goggles on the hat almost look like with the whatever's. I'm doing it now with the mouse too. Underneath the bridge of the nose on the goggles, it almost looks like a skeleton on the hat.
It's a buckle.
Okay.
That hat is from My Action Figure Customs, and it's like a pilgrim hat.
Mm-hmm.
So it's actually got a buckle and and
I mean, that's not surprising.
Right. So but I wanted to give it that space vibe. So those are from a wrestling figure.
Okay.
Yeah, and I just cut the plastic band off and put a cloth one on there, a little leather strap, and repainted like a walkie-talkie that was from something, and stuck it on there. And I actually probably should have taken a shot from that side, but yeah, just he's a space cowboy. He's got to have like tech stuff on his hat, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I love it. Love it. No, that is Curtis. That is because yeah. Oh boy.
I don't think anybody was wondering who that was.
It's totally Jesse.
Yeah.
So thank you guys for
those are great.
letting me show off those customs. So
No, they're awesome.
Thank
a lot
you
of
for
planning them out.
making them. They look great.
Anything else that you've been, watching lately, or whether it's shows, movies, anything that you got going on that you're enjoying?
So, not really, because I'm bad about watching shows and movies. It was something that I did with my kids almost exclusively, and we used to do that a lot. But now they're all quite a bit older, and we don't do that anymore. So I don't really. I'm trying to think of what. I haven't even watched Mandalorian season 3 yet.
Wow.
I do really like Star Wars. I just haven't gotten around. I started watching Obi-Wan Kenobi. I think I watched 2 or 3 episodes and then just haven't gotten back to it. I watched the Lord of the Rings series. I actually really liked that one because I'm a fan of the more obscure lore from Tolkien. I still have the last 2 episodes to watch. I
Oh, the last two episodes really, I think, are really good. I mean, I like the whole show, but it is kind of slow. But the last two episodes really bring it back.
Yeah, I really liked it. I got what they were trying to do. My girlfriend actually was watching it with me, and she doesn't know anything about Lord of the Rings, you know. So I got to be the obnoxious nerd next to her, like, oh, that's Galadriel. She's gonna win that fight. You know, like that.
Kevin, I can guarantee that was not me from the Banhammer day. I was on the show and did not have time to make a new profile, so not sure who it was, but it definitely was not me. I enjoyed that that series, that Rings of Power. I think the thing that for me that took away from it is that it was out the same time, like those episodes were coming out the same time as House of Dragon, and I think House of the Dragon was just so much better in my opinion. So I feel like if Rings of Power was by itself, I would have enjoyed it a lot more. But the fact that it was, at the same time as that, I naturally compared the two, just being in that same kind of mythical genre, and I just felt like House of Dragon was just a lot better.
Was that like Game of Thrones? Because I watched the first 5 seasons of Game of Thrones, and it ended up just making me tired. Like, it's a good show.
I've seen. I didn't watch Game of Thrones when it was out, but since then I've gone through and binged like the whole series. I actually liked House of the Dragon better than Game of Thrones, but I know that I'm probably in the minority when it comes to that. But I thought that first season of House of Dragon was one of the best seasons of any show that I've seen.
Well, once it got to be a trope about characters that I liked dying, I like heroic stories. Like, heroes need a challenge, but they need to overcome at the end. And there's no heroes in Game of Thrones. And watching the bad guys come out ahead for 5 seasons, and then what was the Wolfhelm guy was my favorite character too, the Hound, and then when that happened with him, I was just like, I can't take it anymore. Like, at least he was funny, but I like heroic stories where the good guys overcome at the end and stuff like that. And watching Game of Thrones just made me tired. So
yeah, I could see that. There were definitely characters that I did enjoy in that series, but there's more not good characters than there are good characters for sure.
Well, there's good characters, they just die.
Yeah, that's true.
And then I was hearing some of my friends actually read the books before the show came out. They're like, yeah, in the book that character didn't even die. And that started, and I'm like, so they're killing characters just to kill them. It's not my thing. I like the good guys to win at the end.
Well, I found myself really liking Arya Stark, which surprised me because that is not typically the type of character that I would really find interesting. But I really loved that character. So that was like the one person that I was able to root for basically the whole series.
So I have a question though. Did you guys watch those Star Wars trailers that I sent you?
Yes. For the video game? Yeah, absolutely. That's where I got the idea for the Space Cowboy, because that dude in that trailer was freaking awesome. I was like, this is amazing.
I can't promote the game necessarily, even though I love the game, The Old Republic, and I'm a big fan of that era. It's 12 years old. So even though the stories are fantastic, it's an old game.
Yeah.
But those trailers, each one I watch, I'm thinking, and it's a company that they outsource the trailers to. Like, the game obviously doesn't look like that. These are just trailers. I haven't watched a Star Wars show in a while that like a 6-minute video has more cool stuff I want to see in Star Wars than maybe some entire series. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I would really like to see those at least that style developed into something,
Yeah, the one on the Oculus, what is it? Vader Unleashed, I think. If you have an Oculus, or if you know somebody with an Oculus, I would encourage anybody to try that, because you are basically training from Vader and stuff, or initially you're training like with Vader, but then you're against him. It's like a whole thing. But you're learning how to use a lightsaber in virtual reality, and
that is
it is pretty damn cool. And like they've got like little like simulations that you can do, to where there's like little droids and stuff coming at you that you have to fight. And so you have to do things like throwing your lightsaber and then force pull it back to you and stuff. And it's pretty damn cool. So
my
yeah.
my kids have several like virtual reality. They have the PlayStation 1 and one of the Oculus ones. I don't know if they have that game though. I'm not sure.
Yeah, check it out. Vader Unleashed. There's 3 of them, and they're all really badass. I like
That's
that
cool.
a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, I actually really like the video games. Part of the reason that I like playing video games is that you're the character.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a great form of media to tell a story, because you're not held to a limited amount of time in a series or an hour and a half for a movie. You get to go on a journey with characters, and like Force Unleashed told a story about like if Darth Vader had an apprentice during the dark times between the first 3 and the second 3.
Yeah.
And it's fun to play, and you got to do all kinds of crazy force powers. The story was really good, and they got real actors to motion capture and do the roles and stuff. And I still enjoy, even if I don't have time to go back and play the game, I'll just watch all the cutscenes sometimes on YouTube, just because I enjoy the stories. So.
I do that a lot too. There's a lot of video game, like I don't have a whole lot of time for video games, but there's a lot of them that I think are cool, and I'll just go and like YouTube the cutscenes for it and watch those, because there is a lot that's put into those, and they're pretty cool. So,
well, Star asked that question too. Something about older video games, and I played games when I was like original Nintendo and Super Nintendo and stuff like that. Baldur's Gate changed my life. I didn't know video games could be that cool, because it's a D&D video game, and Baldur's Gate 2 is my favorite game of all time. You make up your character what you want. You choose your race, you choose your class, you choose your alignment. If you want to be the bad guy of the story, you're the bad guy. You know what I mean? Like the game just lets you do whatever you want. So your actions actually have consequence on the story. And the companions that you meet along the way, if you're being chaotic evil and there's a lawful good companion with you, they'll either attack you or leave. They don't put up with your shenanigans. So, those types of games are actually my favorite to play, which is CRPGs, classic role-playing games. And the modern ones, the Pathfinder, they've made a couple Pathfinder games, Kingmaker and Wrath of the Righteous, and those are just, Baldur's Gate 2 is always going to be my favorite game because it's the nostalgia of the first time. But gosh, the Pathfinder games are real close. And
awesome.
And you're telling your own story, like the decisions you make through your character actually affect how the game turns out.
Yeah, I've not played that one. I've heard a lot of people talk about it. I know there's another one on the Oculus. If you have one of those, it's called like Demio, and it's a D&D like game. They actually have like a game board, and you pick your character, and you can play with other people online, and they've got their own classes and stuff, and you go in and you're kicking down doors and facing off monsters and opening chests and like all this kind of stuff. So I've never played D&D, but I have played that, and from what I hear, it's pretty close to being like a D&D / video game. That's a good one to check out too.
For sure. Demio, I'll have to check that out.
Yeah.
I don't remember why I went on that. Oh, because Star had asked. So Baldur's Gate 2, Star, I can sit down. That game came out in like 2001 or 2002. It was a long time ago. And I could sit down and play it right now. Like, I remember
awesome.
when it came out, I was such a fan of the first one. I actually took vacation from work and spent 7 of the 8 days off I had for vacation just playing that game from like the time I woke up to the time I went to bed. It was amazing. Something
awesome.
that'll never happen again. Sure.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't ever recall taking off work and playing a video game. I did. I can't remember if I told it on this show or if it was in our group chat that we have, but there was one day that I took a week vacation because I went to bed on Sunday night. I know I told Jesse this, but I went to bed on Sunday night and I dreamt that I woke up, went to work, did my stuff at work, dealt with, things, different dramas and things like that for my team members, got off work, went to bed, woke up, it's Tuesday, went to work, did that for the whole week. And right as I was getting off work on Friday, I woke up and it was Monday morning and I had to go in. And I was like, I can't do another week of work. so I called up and talked to my boss and took like an impromptu week vacation because that bad dream just ruined it for me.
That is cool that they let you, though.
Yeah.
I would have gotten denied on that request for sure. You give notice.
Wow.
Yeah. Cool.
Oh, that's crazy.
I think that's pretty much a show, unless you got anything else for us, Joe. Anything you got coming up or anything you want to promote?
Not really. I don't really. I mean, I just do customs when I have time because I love doing it,
Mm-hmm.
No, I don't sell anything. I don't have a show. So that is a good reason.
Yeah, that's a good reason.
Well, we'll definitely have you back on at some point to do more of the customs talk since we didn't get to dive into that. So
yeah,
that's okay. Yeah. Anytime you guys want to hang out and chat, this was a great time for me. So,
it was fabulous.
Well, I live in a small town in the middle of nowhere, Nevada. So, there's no. I had to drive 5 hours to find Legions fans. So, you know what I mean? Like it's not a. So for this, just to hang out and talk a little bit of Legions. It was a ton of fun. Thank you so much.
Yeah, it was definitely a lot of fun, and I'd love to have you back at some point. And you just keep doing what you're doing because your customs have been just, especially like this past like 3-4 months, like you just been hammering them out and they've been looking great. So just keep it up, man.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. It's all practice. Like I said, I'm not artistic at all. Like I was never a good artist. Like I have a friend who's a good artist that can just do anything. He's like, oh, look, I did pottery today. Oh, look at this metal etching that I did. Like everything he does, it's like,
right.
Stop, here's the stick figure I drew, and it's not good, but through practice, and I'd encourage anybody, to just stay at it.
Yeah.
And keep trying. And like I said, it wasn't even practicing and getting good through practice. It was finding things that I was good at, those techniques.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure I couldn't paint the way that you guys do. You guys are both
guess
really
what?
good painters, but
You are artistic. Like doing what you do, like it might be a lot of hard work and focus to do that, but that's, not all.
Yeah, but I understand what he's talking
no.
about though, because like growing up, I knew people that could draw and they could paint and they could sculpt and they could do this and that. And I never like was able to do any of that. But you're right. There is an art form to what Joe does. There's an art form to what I do. It's just, you know, we may not have it naturally in all these other areas, but you can definitely develop that stuff. It's, you know, unlike what Steven says to where you either have it or you don't. This is definitely a skill that you can build up. And there's a ton of resources out there and people that want to help, and, you know, some great people with tutorials and stuff out there. I know Nikki's got a lot on her channel, and Jeremy obviously talks about it every Wednesday. Well, he doesn't do as much of the customizing stuff anymore, but he's got a lot of stuff on his channel. So, yeah, it's definitely something that if anybody's interested in, you can just, you know, try your hand at it and, you know, start with some easy stuff. Start with painting some rivets, start with doing some dry brushing, something that's really easy. And then, you know, next thing you know, you're doing reverse dry brushing on metal cosmic figures. Like,
yeah. You know, I just want to encourage anybody who's hesitant about it. Like, oh no, I don't, you know, I can't do it. You can, because I couldn't when I started, and now
you definitely can't if you don't try. Like,
right,
that's true.
Right.
Yeah,
you know, sometimes it just takes a little bit of persistence, you know, but you will get there. The only thing next time, you guys don't put me following 1/6 shooter. Trevor, that was a lot of pressure on me. It's like. Okay, well, this week we had the most interesting man in the toy community on, who is a musician and a photographer and a painter and a 3D printer. And next week, a talking potato. So,
hey, now, no. I'll tell you this right now. You had we were steady in the upper 20s the entire show of people watching live. So. And that's around the same thing that Trevor had last week. So
yeah. No, there's
I'm joking, of course.
Yeah, you know. every one of our guests brings something different to the table, but they're all awesome. So we really appreciate having you on. And not only that, but just like you showing up and hanging out with our shows on a regular basis, like this show and OffWorld. We just appreciate you hanging out with us. And
for sure. Like I said, my kids have gotten older, you know, so they don't want to hang out with dad all the time, you know. So I have more time in the evenings, and so sorry, there was some type of catastrophe happening in the next room. So I have more time, so I like to get on and listen to you guys. The shows are always entertaining for sure, you know. So
appreciate that, sir.
We're really happy.
I'm blown away that so many people came tonight to listen to me talk, because
it was fun, man. Well, it was a lot of fun.
You're an interesting guy.
I had a great time, but I just wasn't expecting.
Hey, look at that.
All right. Yeah.
Thank you, Austin.
Beautiful. All right, Joe. Well, we're going to bump you to the back. If you've got to take off, you can. Otherwise, you can hang out. We'll be with you in just a second, and we'll close out the show, and we'll be right with you.
All right. Well, thanks for having me on, guys, and everybody have a good night. Thank you for watching.
Yep, thanks, Joe.
Appreciate it.
Thanks a lot, man. All right, Jesse.
Okay. Curtis.
What else you got going on?
And I'll say this before. I should have said this before we took Joe out. When he was talking about like helping people out with trades and deals and stuff, you know, being in the cabal, and it's guys like Joe and Cullen and people that have been in the group since the beginning or early on, I think, that have set the standard and made the group the positive side of the group that we all embrace so much.
Yep.
To where, you know, folks like us come in and we see these other guys that have been doing it before, guys, ladies, everybody that's in the group, you know, helping people out with tips, or they go, oh, hey, here's a figure, you know, pay it forward, that kind of stuff. So it's guys like that that have set the bar that we're all just trying to live up to. So
trying not to suck.
Exactly. Let's see what we had OffWorld Friday night talking about the old stuff. So check that out over on the OffWorld podcast.
Yep, that was a fun one this past week. This upcoming week, it'll just be an off week. I don't think we have really any topics, so we'll probably just take a look at some Big Bad Toy Store, shoot the shit, have a good time, but no real douche agenda to speak of. So,
and let's see, Thursday night's the next Mythic Minute in the Cabal, and then next Sunday night we have
dun dun dun.
Cameron Smith from Four Horsemen Studios is joining us on the shelf for our episode next week. So make sure you turn in next Sunday night, 9 p.m. Eastern for that. I'll have the link available to bookmark and stuff after the show tonight or sometime tomorrow when I do our recap and everything. So check that out.
And if you have your painting questions, bring them next Sunday because, yeah, Cameron's pretty awesome. We met him at Legions Con. He did, the little segment for Intern for a Day, talking about how they do the painting at the studio. Has a lot of cool tips and tricks. And then, on top of that, he also is very interested in Critical Role and D&D. And so I'm sure that's going to be a very cool conversation next week. So,
yes. All right. Well, I guess that's a show.
I think it is.
Thank you, everybody, for coming out, or logging in, signing, clicking, sharing. I don't know, whatever the words are. Thanks for doing those things. We appreciate it. We have fun. And if you're not already part of the Legendati group over on Facebook, there will be a link in the show, the description to the Facebook group. Join us in there. And we'll see you next time. And until then, I gotta get ready for the thing because I'm smooth like chunky peanut butter. What's on your shelf?